What's up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another special edition of the Smack Talk podcast presented by SmarkOutMoment.com. This is the WWE NXT TakeOver The End pay-per-view post-show. We're going to be recapping our thoughts on the event that just transpired, giving our reviews of what happened, and so on and so forth. But before we get started, I'm going to introduce to you the panel that's going to be talking for this evening. I am your host, Tony Mango. Joining me on the call, we've got Mike Payton.
Howdy, y'all.
Stephen Wago.
Yo.
And Kalen Ferris.
What's happening, wrestling fans?
And since we are on Mixlr Live right now, we have you guys in the chat, but really there's only one person in the chat right now. Ben Guest One. Shout out to Ben Guest One for being the only person who's willing to pop up on a post NXT TakeOver show. I don't know why, because this actually was a pretty damn good show as far as I'm concerned, and maybe it's just kind of because everybody was sort of blah to begin with. We weren't really looking forward to this when we were doing Smack Talk. I think that we were proven wrong, which is kind of cool. We are going to go through match by match what happened here, though, nonetheless. And we're going to start off with the first match of the night, Andrade Cien Almas defeating Dillinger. Wago, what did you think about this match?
I thought it was okay. I mean, it served its purpose as an opening match. It wasn't fantastic by any means. The new guy that came out, Cien, whatever his name is.
Andrade.
His fucking outfit was ridiculous. As soon as I saw the suspenders, I'm like, oh, well, Jesus Christ, you're done already. Then he took them off and he actually had wrestling gear, so that was good.
You know who else used to wear suspenders? Miguel.
Really?
Yeah, from Los Boricua. You know, the carpet.
Oh, I thought you were talking about different Miguel. But yeah, it was fine for an opener. Nothing special.
I thought that this was actually pretty cool for an opener, because Dillinger comes out and he's got, like, so much more energy than I would have expected him to be. He's just having a ball. Maybe it's because he's actually on, like, the card and everything. But he's got the crowd, you know, getting pumped up and everything. This Andrade guy, you know, the first thing I thought of was he looked kind of ridiculous, but he ended up actually doing some cool stuff in the ring. I was
maybe you're a little more high on it because you actually like Ty Dillinger. I don't.
Yeah, see, that's one of the things that surprised me, too, is the crowd is actually really behind Ty Dillinger, doing the whole 10 chant and everything, and people holding up signs. I don't get it. I'm not on board with him yet. I don't think he's terrible, but I don't get the love for him yet.
I like the guy. I think he's underrated.
I think it's just really fun to chant 10.
But that's another thing, too.
It's twice as fun as chanting 5.
Like, if he would have gone with, like, 8, people would have been like, I don't know this guy.
You know, how appropriate is it, though, that they call this guy Cien, which is Spanish for 100, and they put him against the 10?
I guess so.
Maybe that's what the feud's about.
Lita tried to make that joke, and she fumbled, and it, like, landed poorly.
Yeah, she freaking isn't Spanish her native language, and she couldn't fucking get that joke off right?
I don't know, but she was terrible in the opener tonight. That was one of the worst pre-shows I've ever seen.
I skipped that pre-show. I can't take them anymore.
I
caught the last 3 minutes of the pre-show. It was awful.
I came in for, like, I think probably the last 10, maybe 15 minutes tops, and it was just blah.
Like, I kind of don't really like Corey Graves all that much for, like, the most part. But he's okay, depending on, like, who he's playing off of. Like, I like him and Tom together. That's cool. Renee, I like, of course. But when she's doing her pre-show thing and all she has to do is feed them questions, kind of annoying. Lita, not a big fan.
Renee was actually pretty bad tonight, too. Kept, like, talking over people.
Oh, she was?
Mm-hmm.
I know the one problem that Renee tends to have is she puts her mic a little too close to her mouth.
Oh,
and she's always getting, like, feedback and
I was
stuff.
going to say, that's
She
true.
does.
Did anybody watch Swerved, by the way?
Not yet.
Or Screwed, as I keep
Not
calling
yet.
it?
Yeah, Screwed. No, I didn't watch Screwed or Swerved.
The best thing of this whole season is Dean Ambrose.
Is that song you found?
Oh, well, that's another thing, too. Bum, 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 bum.
You were so happy about that.
Dude,
I don't think I've ever seen such a positive tweet from you.
I've been looking for that song for like 8 years. It's ridiculous. I finally found it, and I was just kind of like, oh my god, this is the best day ever. And the song's not even really that great. It's just the fact that I finally finished that fucking goal. But yeah, Ambrose on Swerved. So funny. You guys got to check that out. Going back to TakeOver at the very least. Peyton, what do you think about Andrade, his debut in the company?
Very much like Wago, I saw this guy coming out with the suspenders and the dumbass hat with the feather in it. First off, where did they get a white feather like that? What's with all the white? It looked terrible. And when he came out dressed like that, I was like, oh god, this guy's done. He's so done. And then luckily he pulled the Cesaro and took off the pants. And then he had actual wrestling gear underneath it. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe this guy's got a shot. And then he actually ended up being really fun to watch. He kept doing these little tricks where he was like leaning in the middle of the ropes and then jumping up in the corner. And he had a fun set of moves there. I think he's got some transitioning to get used to the American style. But I think they got a future star here.
One of my favorite parts of this match was just the like the crowd's always so into everything. And I loved Ty Dillinger pulls a knee pad down and the crowd goes like, oh my god, he pulled a knee pad down, and then he pulls the second one down and they're like, oh shit, he fucking pulled a second one down. Like, they just went nuts. It was just kind of like, if he would have pulled the other one down on the other leg, they would have been like having heart attacks and stuff.
Then he pulled his opponents down.
Oh, then then they're just gonna go on like a mass murdering spree. You're gonna see people with bats trying to break things terribly, like in where the hell was that? Ferguson, yeah.
Oh, jeez. No, I was on the same page with you guys as far as when he first came out and made his entrance. I saw his outfit. I'm like, well, that guy doesn't have much of a future. But then when he stripped down his ring gear, it was better. And like Mike was talking about earlier, there were some fun spots. I like some of his moves, like when he did the, suspended himself up in the air in the corner a couple of times. He did some maneuvers like that. And overall, Cien versus Ty Dillinger, this was better than I gave it credit for in the beginning. Just on paper, I thought, who cares? But I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I don't think it was match of the night by far, but I wouldn't mind seeing these guys go again. I thought their styles complemented each other very well, and I would like to see it again sometime.
Did you mean specifically to say that he suspended himself?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Goddamn suspenders. Gimmick.
Yep.
Almas defeats Ty Dillinger, which takes us into our next match. That was for the tag team championships. Changed hands here. We had the Revival pulls it out. The only 2-time tag team champions in NXT history so far. Disappointed that they ended up winning here, but I loved this match. I thought that it was fantastic. Minus one thing about it. What's up with that pink and the green? Anybody else get that?
Yeah, the technical glitch. It was like pink, green, gray.
I think it was the ghost of Macho Man Randy Savage.
Maybe.
Makes sense.
And I got to give a hat tip to you, Peyton, for making me crack up in the middle of this with a chode gobble.
So we're just making fun of Chad Gable because of his lame-ass name. We've been doing that a lot lately, making fun of people for their names. As a matter of fact, almost every single person in this match has a terrible name. Jason Jordan's the one guy who gets off.
And it's still
Mostly
kind of
because
bland,
he teamed
too.
with Chode Gobble. That's why he gets off.
Chode Gobble.
I'm just glad we don't have a champion named Chad anymore. Jesus Christ.
Chad. But I love these two in the ring. I mean, they've got so much energy. They are doing some cool stuff that each time they come out there, they do something different. I loved at one point they did this whole like slide and celebrate kind of thing. They're just kind of like, fuck yeah. Like you should have taken away the theme song from the Revival at that point. I dug it though. This is actually one of my favorite matches of the year so far. I wouldn't quite say it's match of the year, but I really, really enjoyed this. I
would say this is my match of the night on this card. Overall, I know you guys weren't super hot about the show overall, but I would say that this was probably my highlight of the night. A lot of fall finishes. I really love American Alpha. I love how the crowd is so behind them. They work well together, and they work well with the Revival. I didn't really care too much about the title change. I was fine with that. We get our first 2-time champions. But overall, I just thought it was an entertaining match, and I'm seeing it went 16 minutes, and it didn't really feel like it took a forever. So I'm very happy with it. I thought that match was really good, and that's my highlight of the night, probably.
As much as I like to kind of say that I'm not too big on the Revival, I'll have to give them credit. They pulled out some great stuff in this match, too. It wasn't just American Alpha. So they're winning me over a little bit. I still think that their theme song's the best part about them, but they were a little tighter this time, not botching like they did the last time around. And I enjoyed it. I mean, kudos to both teams, at the very least. Wago, you said that you weren't too into this?
It wasn't that I was too into it. It's just you're like singing its praises like it was some fucking amazing match. It was worse than their last one. It was good, but it wasn't much more than good.
I think I enjoyed this more than their last one.
Yeah, I thought this was a lot better.
The only reason I like this one better is because the Revival won.
So you don't think that this was necessarily as good, or just, but
I think it was a fine match. I do think the last one was better. I think that the Texas crowd brought a lot more to that. This Full Sail crowd, honestly, I've grown very tired of the Full Sail crowd.
Yeah, I was getting kind of sick of "This is awesome" chants every other fucking match. The fucking cage closes in the main, and they fucking chant.
I can't wait until NXT loses all their big stars and all those people in Florida cry about how they don't get to have their little thing anymore.
What, like, you mean tomorrow?
Yep. Or like right now as Triple H is doing his announcement, probably.
That's true. We don't know what's exactly happening with that since we're doing this, but it'd be so great if that's what he did. Just all right, guys, that's the end.
I'm glad you've all gathered here. See ya. He just walks off.
He does the Ferris Bueller thing. He's just kind of like, this is the end. Go home. You're still here? But what else we have here? At the end of this, though, we've got the title change happens. American Alpha, upset about that or whatever. 2 random dudes pop up and just attack them. And then Paul Ellering shows up as well. He shows off that he's going to be their manager, I guess. I have no idea who these 2 people are. Does anybody have any clue?
I gave you their names. Go on, say them.
Some office of something. What is it? The Office of Pain?
The Office of Hours or something?
What is it?
It's Jism.
So what is this? This is Sonny Dinsa and Zim Salmani?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the SWAT team member 1 and SWAT team member 2, I guess. I don't know. We'll see what happens with these guys. But what was your first reaction to this, Peyton?
If this was 1988, I'm sure they'd be pretty over and impressive. Right now, they look like just a bunch of fat indie guys who can't afford ring gear. The most interesting facet of it is Paul Ellering, which is like, where the hell did they dig him out of, and why did they bring him back for these guys, of all people? Like, who would have been great to bring Paul Ellering back for? The fucking Ascension. That would have been a good way to help get them over, but you give him to these guys?
It'd be great if he's been one of those guys that have been employed this whole time and they just didn't know.
Just been a Milton situation.
Just been like walking around in the back eating catering and just like minding his own business. Sets up the ring on occasion, and they're like,
I'm mildly intrigued. I'll give them that. I'm mildly intrigued, but they're gonna have to do more than just be big guys that squash people. Like, we already 3-minute warning was okay for that for about 2 months, and then they had to become shit in Umaga.
Shit and Umaga.
Yeah, basically.
We're gonna call you Umaga. Oh, cool. What's my name? Shit.
that must have sucked.
They're like, oh, that's great. That's a great rib there, Vince. Usually, that's not a rib. You're shit.
You're gonna get the marquee match at WrestleMania. You shit.
So curious to see what happens here, and we'll find out, I guess, when they do their tapings, which is probably going to be tomorrow night, maybe Friday night. They usually like to do it real soon after this, so we'll see. That takes us into third match of the night. Shinsuke Nakamura defeating Austin Aries. Another really solid match. I'm not sure if I would put this better than the Sami Zayn one or not. I'm going to have to watch both of those back, but really dug it quite a bit. Aries pulling out a lot of good stuff here as the heel. Nakamura, of course, doing his thing. Crowd eating it up from start to finish. Real brutal strikes throughout the whole thing, so that was kind of cool too. Big fan of it. Thumbs up from my end. What about you, Kalen?
I enjoyed this match as well. I really like these 2 guys, how they work together. You were comparing it to the Sami Zayn Nakamura. I don't think this is even close. I enjoyed this match, but the other one I like so much better, seeing Nakamura versus Zayn. As far as, because, well, this way you have Austin Aries, who is definitely more of a clearly defined heel, so you had more of the storytelling going there as far as Zayn and Nakamura, they're kind of both baby faces. So it at least had that element to it. They both put on a hell of a physical match. It was very enjoyable. I don't know if that's probably going to be my second match of the night behind the tag team match.
Same for me.
Yeah.
Ben Guest in the chat right now says this is match of the night for him, but he does prefer Nakamura Zayn. We go, what do you think's better here? Zayn won, Aries?
Zayn by a milestone, but like, it's significantly. It wasn't a bad match by any means tonight. Very fun. Could have used 10 to 15 more minutes though.
How long was it? Does anybody know?
I don't know, but it felt like it was over way too soon. Just as I was getting ready to have that big mark out moment, it kind of never came.
Looks like 17:05.
Oh, okay, it went longer than I thought it did. Still could have used an extra 10.
The whole show to me kind of seemed rushed. That was the longest match at 17:05.
You know, I didn't think about it when it was happening, but now that you bring it up, it does kind of feel like it was a quick show.
Yeah, we had 5 matches, and the longest one was 17
Because
minutes.
they actually stayed within the 2-hour time limit for once. Normally we have shows that go over anywhere from like half an hour to a full hour.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe it was just because like the pacing for the matches was real fast. Like there wasn't, I mean, well, there was a match a little bit later on that kind of slowed down, but the last event that we had like that Nia Jax and Bayley match, and that just, you know, everything came to a halt with that one.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's it. I don't know, but by the time that this third match had gotten done, I was just like, oh damn, this is actually a good event. You know, I kind of shit on it a little bit too soon. Peyton, though, your thoughts on Nakamura Aries?
I was extremely looking forward to this match. I don't feel like my expectations were met. And I feel like that may be some my fault for overhyping it and how awesome that Nakamura Zayn match was. This didn't even come anywhere near close to that. I was hoping for another match of the year contender because we've been getting so many of those in the first half of this year. I got to say, this one doesn't deserve to be in the conversation. I don't even think it was match of the night. I agree with you guys. It was not match of the night.
That's number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 3, I would say the Dillinger match, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, I was about to say Ty and Cien. Absolutely.
Yep.
I don't know. I'd put it on par with the tag match, to be honest.
The Nakamura match or the Dillinger?
The Nakamura match.
Yeah, fair's fair. Moose was in the show tonight. He was?
He wasn't on the show, but he was apparently in the house.
I know Bobby Roode was. They showed him backstage.
You know who was Neville, and he looked like a fucking dog.
Yeah, what's different? He always looks like a dork.
What a fucking dork.
The glasses, with whatever the fuck's going on with his facial hair, the shirt.
Fucking ponytail.
Dude, that guy always looks like a dork.
How the fuck did they find him?
I bet they thought he was just a fucking student.
Oh, and as Mike pointed out in the Megamaniacs chat, we also had stunning Steve Austin in the audience.
Yes.
Yeah, that dude looked so much like...
I couldn't stop staring at him after you pointed that out.
Yeah, that's what happened. I was looking at him so much because they were in the middle of this long-ass rest spot during the Aries Nakamura match, and I just see him right next to Aries, and I'm like, that looks like stunning Steve. And I just kept staring at him more and more.
That's the reason you fuckers like the tag match better. You were staring at stunning Steve Austin.
As soon as you pointed him out, though, you're like, you know, look for this one guy in the one spot. About like 5 seconds later, I'm staring at my screen and I'm like, immediately I could zone into the guy. Like, it wasn't a matter of like, wait, which side is he on? It's like, no, that's the dude right there. That's Stunning Steve. Fucking Austin's in the crowd. Looked so much like him. And then there's that guy who dressed up like Nakamura. He looked pretty good.
I liked it.
He's got like the mouth guard and everything too. So that was cool. We had our worst match of the night as far as I'm concerned. Asuka versus Nia Jax. Asuka retains the title here, and I will say it's better than the Bayley match, but I hated that Bayley match. So even though this was not terrible or anything like that, I still just, blah. You know, I wasn't really digging it the entire time. If I was going to do something else, I would have left in the middle of that match, and it would have been kind of okay with me. I'm just really thinking that Nia Jax needs a lot more time. She is improving. I'll give her that. But she's not ready yet.
Wasn't that what NXT is for?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to, fault that kind of thing, but I do still think she needs to kind of maybe not be on the TakeOver shows if that's the case.
I'm just going to say, if what I suspect is going to happen with all these guys being called up, people on her level is what NXT is about to be comprised of fully.
And if that's the case, I think I'll skip some NXT.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what it's there for.
Exactly. I think it could use that reset. I think NXT is way too big for itself.
I know that Nia Jax is way too big for herself.
Don't you make fun of my sack of pudding.
Hey, we want some pudding.
Oh, her outfit today, man, though.
No, it's a lot better than what something she's wearing, man. At least she's not wearing like the flying carpet.
I just don't get it at all. Like, she looked like she was sort of wearing the same thing that Ty Dillinger had, but that, like, they cut it wrong, and it was just kind of like leaning on the one side of her face. And then she's got like the grimace kind of outfit on too, and
if this match had 5 minutes cut from it and given to the Nakamura match, I think I would have been happy.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah.
Oh, is anybody surprised that Nia Jax didn't win?
No.
No, they made the right decision to keep the title on Asuka.
I think tonight just proved that Nia Jax isn't ready for the belt. She's, you know what? Hats off to Asuka though. She carried Nia Jax a lot better than I thought she could.
One part of this match that I liked quite a bit was Nia Jax kind of fighting from underneath, and she's getting kicked in the head a bunch of times and whatever, and that was pretty believable. It's like, all right, Asuka, she's making a name for herself as being this like real good striker with knees to the head and everything like that. That's gonna make somebody like Nia Jax like stumble around and everything. What I hate though is when Nia Jax picks people up for the bear hug. That's just like, oh, all right, well, the next minute's going to be boring. And I don't, fault her too much for that. That's wrestling, that style. She's a bigger gal. She's going to be doing that kind of stuff. She's not going to be flipping around and all that kind of shit, but doesn't mean I got to like it. You know what I mean? As far as where we go from here, though, what's next for Asuka?
Being
Carmella?
Yeah.
Well, we got Carmella, Alexa Bliss. They could just do Bayley again. I mean, this could have been a situation where they wanted to hold off on the Bayley thing.
I'm ready for them to move Alexa Bliss up.
I don't think she's going up anytime soon, necessarily.
I think it's too soon.
I don't mean
for
up to the main
Peyton Royce.
roster. I mean up to the title picture with
Oh.
Asuka.
Does she even wrestle ever?
Yeah, she wrestles pretty much the same as everybody else. More so than, at the very least, like Billie Kay does.
I like Billie Kay. Give her the title.
Just give her the belt. We got Billie Kay. We got Peyton Royce. They still haven't Royce.
They need to get rid of that name.
Royce.
I'll never take a serious.
They still haven't had what's her name? But like they've had Aaliyah and Liv Morgan popping up every once in a while. But there's the other girl. Her name starts with an A. Damn it. Athena was her other name. I'm drawing a blank on what her NXT name is now. She
Amber
hasn't really...
Moon. Amber
Sure,
Moon,
close
right?
enough.
Yeah, she did a dark match with Peyton Royce.
Wait, no, that's probably the same person.
I don't care.
Whatever it is, that's another person who could be coming up soon. So we could be moving Bayley up to the main roster maybe, and then they're going to put a couple other people in that spot. Alexa Bliss seems like she's probably the best option from my point of view, but where's Eva Marie been?
Where she belongs.
Off my TV.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see her on my lap.
Ah. She's still eating that box of donuts.
Boo!
I don't blame her. Box of donuts looked great. Second best thing on that picture. Let's see. Our main event was Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor in a cage match for the NXT Championship. Samoa Joe retains here. I'm very happy about that. I didn't want Balor to win the belt. Joe was kind of doing some cool stuff tonight that I really liked with that title, like the posing that he was doing with his theme. I like that quite a bit. And I like the end of this match too, the muscle buster from the rope. Very cool to see that.
About all I liked.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too.
Yeah, see, that's where the negatives come in, because I wasn't really too into this match with like the promotional stuff for it. And I will admit, it was better than I kind of expected it to be, but I had real low expectations. So even though this wasn't bad, it wasn't that good. Now, the first 3 matches in the night, I can recommend to somebody to go ahead and check those out, and then just skip the rest, which is kind of a shame. The 2 main events to skip, that kind of sucks. What do you think about this, Peyton? You got positives, negatives for the main event?
It was kind of whack, wasn't it? Like, for a steel cage match with these 2 guys that, for all intents and purposes, are pretty damn awesome. I don't know what went wrong here. Honestly, I don't know if maybe I was just already burnt out from having 3 kick-ass matches in the beginning. Maybe this is why they always tell the opening matches to not go out there and be too good. Because maybe by the time I got to this, I was just not into it.
And it's not even like a 3 or 4 hour show where you're kind of exhausted as a watcher. No, we saw a total of like 40 minutes of wrestling before that.
I think the crowd was partially to blame because they weren't into it. But then again, it's up to Joe and Balor to get them into it.
What do you mean? They were into it like from the beginning. They were chanting, "This is awesome."
Yeah, but then they died down.
Because it stopped being awesome.
Yeah. What stopped happening? The cage stopped moving.
Yeah. I did like the cage, how it like collapsed on itself when they did that. That was kind of cool.
That was a cool cage.
That was the other part of the match I liked.
Yeah. Even Balor's entrance was blah.
I kind of dug the cage, but I was saying in the chat, I missed that, ooh, shiny, when he sees the belt.
Mm-hmm.
The what?
Have you not seen it when he's crawled into the ring, he sees the belt, and he's like, ooh, shiny belt. Mine. You never noticed him? You do that face or anything?
No, I never noticed this. I'm going to have to check it out.
You're going to notice it now.
Yeah, it's one of the best parts of his entrance. What the fuck?
I thought his entrance
he doesn't have
was
a belt
right.
now.
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't one of his best entrances, but it was all right. I liked how they had the cage, the fence, and he like pushed it over. And then they had it choreographed perfectly where he comes up over the ring and then they had the shot right on his eyes right before he enters. I thought that was pretty cool.
Wasn't doing it for me.
His entrance actually was more, I liked his entrance more than the match itself.
What about the whole situation that we had, excuse me, with the fact that this is what, like their 4th or 5th thing? I think that that's probably the biggest detractor for this. It was like, all right, well, we're going to see Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor again. All right. Like, you know, if you're going to have a steel cage match, that's kind of cool. You're going to have Joe and Balor. They've had some decent stuff before, but by now, you go into this match expecting Joe to retain, and you've seen it before. Not really digging that.
Well, no, we didn't see it before. When he got his belt, we didn't get to see it.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
But now it looks like this should be over. It should be the end. You know, kind of go with the gimmick of what you're talking about. Don't just keep repeating this shit. And same as when it comes to Asuka. Where would you guys like to see the NXT Championship go? Who's going to challenge Joe next?
Hopefully whoever challenges him doesn't do it in a cage match, because if that was the first NXT cage match, I don't want to see another.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm fine with him just running through up-and-comers in NXT and waiting for someone to establish themselves and drop the belt when it's needed.
Yeah, I think the obvious answer is for Joe to go against Nakamura, but I don't think they should pull the trigger on that yet. I think that should be in the future a bit. So kind of like Waco said, Joe should just sort of plow over a couple of people before we get like a real contender, I think.
Ty Dillinger.
Yeah.
Exactly, the title shot.
And I think Nakamura's getting called up.
Like, we just got to wait and see what's going to go on with this brand split.
Do you think he's going to come up from the brand extension, or do you think he's going to come up just
they'll probably do it with the brand extension. It makes the most sense.
Yeah, I think when they do the roster draft, I think we're going to see a lot of NXT guys also taken with that.
Well, really, there's not many other people that could challenge Samoa Joe unless they start adding a couple more people in there. Bobby Roode, I got to imagine, he's probably going to come in as a heel. Eric Young, they haven't really dotted the I's, crossed all the T's, if we're, supposed to believe what the reports say.
Why'd you have to bring his name up? He's a terrible opponent for Joe. Fuck
you know
Eric
what?
Young.
The only thing he's done so far is to call out Joe. He could be the next guy that just loses to Joe.
No, I don't even want to see him lose to Joe.
Yeah.
Might be happening.
No, I know they could do Samoa Joe. They could do Samoa Joe versus No Way Jose. No, nobody wants to see that.
No way.
But it would be a time filler.
Maybe it's going to be Samoa Joe versus Paul Ellering. I don't know.
Jesus.
Yeah, so that was the card. I mean, it kind of seems like even a quick post show for the most part. But what would you guys say is your highlight and your low point? Peyton, I'm going to start out with you.
My highlight would be the Revival winning the tag team titles, saying yeah. And my low light, it's hard to even say what I'm most disappointed with. I'm probably gonna go with the general middle part of the main event. I mean, the entrances were all right. The beginning of the match had a good amount of energy, but then it really dragged in the middle, and then it picked up to the end. So the middle part of the main event just felt way too long.
Way go.
Well, I also want to say, I know you've been strongly singing this show's praises. I think this was just an average event. It was fine because it was 2 hours, so it couldn't offend me, but it was like, is what it is.
This is by far the worst takeover to me.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
By a landslide. It wasn't a bad show, it was just an average wrestling show. If it was any longer, it would have been offensive. As far as my high point, I'm going to give it to the Nakamura-Austin Aries match. As my low point, at the end of the day, your main event's the one that's expected to deliver, and these guys had one of the worst matches of the night, so yeah.
Kalen?
Instead of the end, they should have called it NXT TakeOver. Meh. I gotta also echo the same thing that you guys were saying. My highlight was the Revival versus American Alpha. That tag team match was the best match on the card, in my opinion. Kept me invested the whole way through. Lots of good action. As far as the low point, I also have to go with the main event, Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor, because on paper, that should have been so much better. And it was just kind of a snoozer for a lot of it. The ending was cool. The entrances were cool. But it didn't get me as invested as it should have. And I'd say, I don't know, maybe it was a better match than Asuka versus Nia Jax. But the expectation wasn't there for that one. So I'd say the expectation didn't quite meet that same level. So I'm going to go with the main event.
That's going to be unanimous then, because my high point's that tag title match, and my low point's the main event. It's just disappointing to see that you can start off good opening match, really good tag team match, good Nakamura match, and then just kind of fall down like that. Those two last matches of the night should have been the two best, not the worst. So I will be on the positive side and say that I really didn't care about this card whatsoever. And for the most part, I'm happy I watched it. Had one really good match, one match that was pretty much on par with that, another one that was really cool. So, 2 hours, it's easy to digest.
Yeah, I'm happy I watched it. Like you said, I didn't have very high expectations for the card overall going into this. So, but then again, it's a takeover, so it should feel more special than it did. Overall, I don't know what kind of middle. It wasn't a bad show. Like, people listening to this might think we thought it was bad. I don't think it was bad. It was a good show. It just wasn't a really good show.
You know what it feels more like to me? A 2-hour normal episode of NXT.
Yeah, totally.
And it should have been a bigger deal, like you're saying. Takeovers have pretty much been, awesome. Like, the build's been great for a lot of them. The matches have been, they really feel like they're important. This was kind of like an afterthought in a lot of ways.
Well, remember just less than a year ago, TakeOver Brooklyn. We had SummerSlam, and then we had the Raw after, and pretty much unanimous, we all thought that TakeOver was the best show of that weekend.
Right.
Well, I was going to say, could being back in Full Sail be a problem here too? Because thinking over the last year, we had Brooklyn, we had freaking when they were in London, and we were in Texas, and now they're back in dingy little Full Sail.
I don't think it's as much of an issue as the card and the build to it to begin with. Like, if we would have had maybe... I mean, I don't want to put all the blame on, Nia Jax, but Nia Jax really... She's not doing anything for me. So if you have Asuka versus her, I automatically don't really give a shit. And if it would have been Asuka versus Bayley, I think people would have cared more, then the crowd would have gotten more into it, and kind of would have, swept it all up in a good, nice little tornado, but maybe... That could be part of it.
I think what's a part of it is that Nakamura versus Sami Zayn match was the peak for NXT. I don't think it ever gets any better than that. So there's only one place to go, and it's down. After you have such a big event like that, whatever you do is going to be a little underwhelming at first.
Ben Guest says, this compared to Dallas is SmackDown compared to an average pay-per-view. It's a good point. But now, if we are looking at this as you got to go down from there, then you can kind of look at it as you can only go up from here. Are you guys thinking that Brooklyn is going to be at least like a huge step up when it comes to this? Maybe not necessarily as good as last year, but are you guys looking forward to Brooklyn?
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and correct you, Tony. You think it can't go anywhere up here. Trust me, it could go way down.
Oh, well, it could definitely go down.
Way down.
So every situation can always be worse. If we do have the roster changes and like No Way Jose is our main dude and shit like that, then yeah, that's gonna go real fucking
Well,
down.
you were talking before about potential people to replace that main event. One name that didn't come up, and I wouldn't be surprised if they hotshotted him into the main event scene there, is that Andrade Cien dude.
Mm-hmm.
I hope not.
I think he's a main eventer.
Mm-hmm. He already was a main eventer in Mexico, so he's already familiar. He's just got to transition to the style here. And he'll do it. I think he's got it in him.
He'll do it. He'll fucking do it.
I'll do it. I'll fucking do it.
He'll do it, or I'm going to find him and make him wish he did.
Alrighty, everybody. That's it then for our NXT TakeOver The End post-show. Make sure you leave all your comments below and tell us what you thought of the pay-per-view. What were your favorite things? What were your least favorite things? Where do you think everything's going from here? And anything else you want to toss out there as well. Last thing for us to take care of here is just to go around the table one more time, give out some plugs for anything that you guys should be checking out. Kaylin, anything you want to toss out to the people?
And in the end, you can follow me on Twitter at Kaylin Ferris.
Way go.
Oh, look, booby failures here. Anyway, check me out at Stephen Wago on Twitter and on Twitch.
Payton.
Follow me at MRPADEN. That's Mr. Payton on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. And join us Mondays following Raw for MPW Mega Powers Wrestling, where we invite all of the chat members there to create their own wrestlers and compete against each other, all vying for Ricky the Torpedo Marinera's All-Star title. Defended it twice this week and still retained it. Craziness. Absolutely.
Hashtag
crazy.
sauce.
Hashtag
sauce.
Vaseline Gate 2016.
Alrighty, everybody, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, and keep checking out smarkoutmoment.com as well as fanboysanonymous.com and everything else under a mango tree. This is it for this episode. Thank you all for listening, everybody. This is another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.